So do you guys remember this?
Now, this individual right here is probably one of the least talked about, that I think is actually probably one of the most important people of interest in this incident. His name, at least the one he goes by now, is Alex Blaine. His actual name will be revealed shortly, because Alex Blaine is an alias, and his motives, at least in my assessment of why he would want to hide who he really is, have to do with his background. So this is his current profile picture that you can find on Facebook, Alex Blaine. You see the tattoos here, the tattoos here. If you look harder, you'll also find a Facebook account with the name Joshua Ziminski. Joshua Ziminski, actually, in my view, looking at all of the various criminal records that I had to look at when I was assessing what happened here, has probably the longest criminal record of any of them. So much, in fact, that I actually had to put together just highlights of his criminal record. So this is actually kind of spliced together of multiple cases, but just to kind of give you an idea, robbery with use of force, disorderly conduct. The robbery with use of force, dismissed on prosecutor's motion, pled guilty to disorderly conduct, so he plea bargained. Then you've got endanger safety, use of a dangerous weapon, carrying a concealed weapon, disorderly conduct while armed. It was the final plea, etc., etc. Now, there are plenty more where this comes from. If you want to get the full gist of it, I couldn't even put it together without it taking up too much of the video. But you just look up his name, which you can find right here, Joshua Joseph Ziminski. This is all a matter of public record. He was also brought up multiple times on not paying child support and other offenses like that, but moving on.
I'm not going to play this whole thing because it's over a half hour long, but you can also check out my video about my conversation with Joshua Ziminski when he started commenting on my documentary. And as I mentioned earlier, that led to my awesome collaboration with Mary Todd, who I strongly advise you check out their channel. They do fantastic breakdowns, and I knew that their ability to make the video prettier was going to be better than mine, and that led to this video.
The prosecution in the Kyle Rittenhouse case recently released new footage that had been taken by a drone and was previously unavailable. The footage seems to be selectively edited to leave out a very critical part of this story. In this brief presentation, a collaboration between V-Radio and Mary Todd, we will bring attention to that which is for some reason not receiving enough attention.
Do you recognize this?
Yes, that appears to be the video that's been clarified and then enlarged as well.
And is this a different part of that same drone video?
Yes, this is a different segment picking up from the stopping point of the previous video and continuing on to
not
where the
okay,
video
guys, not okay. We got gunshots. We got
turns
gunshots.
away from the area of interest.
Is a true and accurate copy of the exhibit that you created?
It appears to be so, yes.
Hey! Not okay, guys. Not okay. We got gunshots. We got gunshots.
There has been discussion about whether or not Kyle Rittenhouse may have provoked his attackers and thereby disqualifying himself from self-defense. However, evidence in the trial has not been in any way conclusive to that regard. With that said, even if he had, you are still permitted to use lethal force to defend yourself if you have the reasonable belief that you are in imminent danger of death or great bodily harm, particularly if you tried to escape from your attackers. In this instance, Kyle Rittenhouse fled from Joseph Rosenbaum and did not turn to fire until he had heard another gunshot. You can't flee from a gun.
Mr. Armstrong, what is this?
This is the same segment, except it's slowed down by 50%. just simply annotated that video.
It has also been suggested that Kyle Rittenhouse may have invalidated his claim to self-defense as he was engaged in the unlawful activity of possessing a firearm. The misdemeanor in question does not invalidate his right to self-defense if he reasonably believed his life was in danger. As this excerpt taken from Wisconsin state law regarding self-defense clearly states. There were more gunshots fired in self-defense by Kyle Rittenhouse that evening. If you want more details about what took place, you could watch my documentary on YouTube, Spotify, or BitChute.
So that was actually a lot of funny memories about that. But I won't get into all of them today. But basically, the thing that was kind of frustrating for me as somebody who covered this was that the defense attorneys never even talked about the pistol shot. And that was the most relevant reason why Kyle would have every reason to believe that his life was in real danger. Somebody behind him fired a pistol. When you look at earlier parts of the video, Joshua Ziminski had actually lunged at Kyle and said, "You won't do shit, motherfucker," and had the pistol in his hand. And that's one of the reasons why I was disappointed in the fact that the Joshua Ziminski's role was essentially completely, taken out of the situation when his gunshot is really kind of the catalyst of everything else. So anyway, we did get some kind of good news. I would call it more like bittersweet good news about this, and that's what this video is about. So, reported by the Kenosha County Eye, Rittenhouse judge hands down rare soft sentence on key Kenosha rioter. The author of the Kenosha County Eye is Kevin Matthewson. I've had him on the show many times. But, with all the complaints that supposedly this judge was just soft on Kyle or was clearly biased against Kyle, he's at this point only giving a 3-year sentence to this guy who essentially is kind of like the match that lit the fire. But let's go ahead and read from it. An evil man with the word sin tattooed on his head, an upside-down crucifix on his forehead, and teardrops under his eyes, has been sentenced to only 3 years in prison from arguably the toughest judge in Wisconsin, Bruce Schroeder. The sentence was for 2 felony case files. The first case from August 25th, 2020, the night Kyle Rittenhouse shot and killed 2 men and injured a third in self-defense during the Kenosha riots. Ziminski shot his pistol in the air minutes before Rittenhouse would shoot and kill Joseph Rosenbaum. Ziminski was also accused of arson on the same night. Kenosha police asked the Kenosha DA, Michael Gravely, to charge Ziminski with a 1, second-degree recklessly endangering safety, and 2, resisting, obstructing an officer, and 3, disorderly conduct, 4, bail jumping, and 5, arson. If you remember going back to my original video, the guy had such a long criminal history that I didn't even want to put it all in the video because it would have taken a half hour just to talk about his criminal history. This is that revolving door of the justice system that the Punisher talks about. Anyway, Gravely's office charged Ziminski with only 1 count of misdemeanor disorderly conduct. Only after community outrage did the office add felony arson to the charges. So for him, firing his pistol in the air, the guy only gets, disorderly conduct, but they wanted to go after Kyle for everything he did with his firearm that day. The other thing is he wasn't even legally supposed to have a firearm, but that's besides the point. Joshua Ziminski and his attorney, Michael Barth, in court Thursday. The second case was from almost exactly 2 years later, while out on bond for the arson case on August 26, 2022. At about 2 a.m., a Kenosha patrol officer encountered a 54-year-old man, the victim in this case. He told police that 2 men and a woman he knew as Bonnie just robbed him. Bonnie is Kelly Ziminski's porn star name. He said he met Kelly a week before and she cleaned his home for money. Now, just to be clear, what this is about is that Ziminski and his wife have a porn video that you can that was actually uncovered by Anonymous when they were trying to figure out who this guy was. Anyway, he said he met Kelly a week before and she cleaned his home for money. The victim told police that he had heard a knock at his door at about 1:20 a.m. that night, and it was Kelly. She asked to use the bathroom, and he allowed her in, but then Joshua and a third man followed her in. Joshua then grabbed the man at knife point and demanded all the man's money in the home. The man told Joshua that he didn't have any money in the home, but had some in his bank. Joshua then put the knife to the man's back and pushed him outside into a full-size GMC. The man tried to dial 911, but Joshua took the phone away. They demanded the man's PIN number and ATM card. They then proceeded to drive to Louis Perrine's, a Speedway, Quick Trip, and Chase, all on Washington Road. Each time the transaction failed, they ended up back at Lou Perrine's. The man then escaped at the gas station, even with the men trying to stop him. The victim was able to put Ziminski pick Ziminski out of a photo lineup. Ziminski and the other man threatened to kill the man and bury him with no one to find him. The Ziminskis told police that the reason for their actions is that the man raped Kelly, which obviously is nonsense. Both Joshua Ziminski and Kelly Ziminski faced almost identical charges for both cases on May 30th, 2023. Kenosha County Prosecutor Binger dismissed all of the criminal charges from August 25th, 2020 for Mr. Ziminski. He made a plea deal with Ziminski that included both of these felony files. That same day, Ziminski pleaded guilty to 1 count of armed robbery and 1 count of armed burglary. Dismissed but read in were the following charges: felony arson, felony intimidation of a victim, felony false imprisonment, felony unauthorized use of an individual's personal identifying information or documents, felony bail jumping, felony arson, disorderly conduct, use of a dangerous weapon, battery, obstructing an officer. There's everybody's favorite prosecutor. Kenosha County Assistant District Attorney Claire Binger in court Thursday. During his sentencing recommendation, Binger brought something to light that the public was previously not made aware of. He said that Joshua Ziminski admitted to investigators that he ran a side business in which he would buy guns for other felons for $100 or $150 profit. At least 4 of these guns were used in crimes, including 1 murder in Kenosha, that of Malik Boyd at the Rain Bar. That's interesting. I didn't know that. I guess none of us knew that. What's also interesting about it is that, when he used that gun that day, he claimed that it had been stolen from him when the police wanted it, which was interesting, to say the least. Judge Schroeder said that these new facts would not sway his sentence. A spokesman with the Kenosha Police Department said that they referred these allegations to the United States Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, the ATF. The United States Attorney of the Eastern District of Wisconsin decided against charging Ziminski. Binger recommended that Ziminski be given 5 years in prison. Ziminski and his wife initially faced over 50 years in prison each. Due to the plea deal, the sentence was capped at 20 years in prison. Schroeder only gave Ziminski 3 years in prison. His wife, Kelly, received the same sentence. So, yeah, that was her. She had like a stick or something with her. So many times you just bring up these memories, analyzing these people. It's crazy. I remember stumbling on an article once that I was never able to find again, that they left their kids in the car once and got arrested for that too. But anyway, so that's the breaking news, folks, is that they're finally going to jail, but not for very long, only 3 years. And, they threw the book at every, at Kyle himself. They wanted every charge, including the ones that obviously the law didn't apply to. But this guy just keeps getting in and out of jail over and over and over and over again. And in addition to this, he got, there was a case going on with him and Nathan DeBruin, Photo Chad, because he was trying to intimidate Nathan, and Nathan couldn't talk about it the last time I brought him on because it was an ongoing court case. I will ask Photo Chad if he can talk more about it now. Maybe we'll have a kind of a reunion stream with me and Johnny Walker Dredd and Logical Checkmate and Kevin Matheson and Nathan DeBruin. Maybe we'll invite Grambo too. If you guys are interested in that, put it in the comments. We did a lot of stuff on Kyle Rittenhouse over the years, and I don't know if you guys are, sick of hearing about it yet. But in this instance, though, I really did want to talk about this because it really brings things to, to full circle, I guess. Because the fact that this guy, that I identified this guy, that I got him arrested, that he had this huge part in the story that nobody talks about. Like, literally, I'm constantly on Twitter reminding people that the first shooter was someone else, someone with the protesters/rioters who fired his pistol before Kyle did. This is a critical piece of information to anybody trying to understand what took place that night. And for some reason, it is so marginalized as in any way being relevant. Most people don't even know who Joshua Ziminski is. He was going around with an alias because of his huge, long criminal record. And I didn't do all of the detective work by myself. Again, Anonymous provided me with a lot of information regarding his identity. I'm just happy that he finally got arrested and off the streets. I am curious what's going to happen to their kids, although I cringe at the notion that those two people have children in the first place. But again, like I said, I had stumbled on an article written in the same Milwaukee Journal Sentinel a while ago that pointed out that, you know, they had been arrested or something for like leaving their kids in the car outside of a store. So anyway, guys, that was what I wanted to share with you. My normal 6 o'clock show with Liberty Unleashed will not be happening today because he needed to take the day off. If I can get together a stream about this, if you guys are interested, please, you know, let me know in the comments. Like, subscribe, and ring the bell. And thanks for your support. You know, since all of this started, you know, I just really wanted to get to the truth about what had taken place. And I just, going back to look at that old video, you know, really brings back memories because back then I was like, I started making a couple videos because of the Bernie Sanders campaign because I was, you know, interested in politics. But then this happened. And so I was injured. I have a smashed tailbone. So sitting in chairs hurts. And I had also, you know, done some other things to myself that made it very difficult to do this work. You know, because I had injured my leg, a bunch of other things. And I was sitting at my computer for sometimes 12 hours a day to make that shoddy looking documentary that everybody likes. Because I just was so obsessed with trying to get to the truth about it because people were lying about it over and over and over. So to finally see that something that I did, that my work actually yielded a real life, you know, result and somebody getting punished is great. I'm astonished though that the guy's only going away for 3 years. He has been a criminal for so long, and this sort of nonsense just emboldens people. You know, and that's the other thing. Like, he had firearms, like, he used firearms in the commissions of robberies and stuff. Like, how do you continue to be able to keep firearms at that point? I don't know. You know, but the other thing about this that's ironic is that the obsession with people bringing guns to a protest was so, you know, like, you know, Kyle brought a gun to a protest, and their version of the story always only includes Kyle. Like, you would think Kyle was literally the only person with a gun there. But as I've shown on other videos that I'll link to you guys if you want to see them, for example, there were BLM protesters with AR-15s shooting at police Bearcats the day before Kyle got there. But nobody talks about that. You know, like, but anyway, you guys have heard a lot from me on this topic. So like I said, if you want to see a reunion stream, let me know in the comments and I'll try to set it up. You know, otherwise, I'm glad to finally have some closure in this issue. Joshua Ziminski is going to jail. Thanks.